Argentina and Spain. They'll meet Saturday at noon right here on Rip City Radio 620, your home of the World Cup in Portland. From the NFL, Alvin Kamara will play for the Saints this season on a reworked deal, and George Pickens is going to play on a $27.3 million tag after he and the Cowboys couldn't agree on a long-term extension. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing is coming up next. Guiellemo Matta from KATU will join us at 3:20. My good friend Josh Trainor talking about an experience in Cambodia at 4:20, and we'll preview the Open Championship with PGA Dave, David Coleman at 5:20.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Coors Light, cold as the Rockies. Please drink responsibly.
Hopeful that it will wrap up this summer, so that would continue to be the goal here. And I just want to clarify so everyone understands, I mean, the league did not pause the trade. The parties to the trade made a decision not to go forward, given that the investigation remained open. Any possible impact on Kawhi or his contract was yet to be known.
Aaron Donald is not going to come back as some 30-cent on the dollar version of Aaron Donald. He wants to be ready. That's why that workout was going on. He wants to be fully where he was when he retired 2 years ago and wants to be the best version of himself. When I tell you, they haven't even discussed money yet. So that's the secondary part of this. The first part is, does Aaron Donald want to come back? Is he prepared to come back? Is he ready to come back? The Rams would welcome him with open arms, obviously, if the numbers worked out. But this is not going to be one of those deals where it's like week 2, week 3, week 4. No. He wants to go the full season if he comes back, and he wants to be at his best version of himself.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, this is one of the all-time slow jams. This system, Don't Disturb This Groove. I think it's a great summertime song. All right, Rip City Drive, we got a very busy show today that's going to take us in many different directions. Guiellemo Matta from KATU is going to join us coming up at 3:25, and we'll get his insight and the latest on the negotiations between the Trailblazers and the city of Portland. It's very important. It's the most important matter right now facing all of us sports fans here in the area. They've got to get a deal done. They must get a deal done. We've got to do whatever is necessary to make sure the Trailblazers are in place in the city of Portland into the foreseeable future. I don't think there's an option. Adam Silver weighed in. I'm going to play that in just a moment. So we'll talk with Guiellemo Matta at 3:20. At 4:20, my good buddy Josh Trainor is coming in. He's my friend that nearly died of a heart attack at Wildwood Golf Course, and I think the anniversary of that day is coming up in October, the 7-year anniversary, but he just got back from a trip to Cambodia on a mission trip, so he's going to come in and share his experience at 4:20. And at 5:20, we will preview the Open Championship with our good friend David Coleman. PGA Dave will join the show at 5:20. Now, I do want to hear from you. I'll give you the telephone number. I want to hear from you, Portland. I want to hear from Blazer fans. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. I want to know what your honest thoughts are with the negotiations between the Blazers and the city. Do you want the Blazers to remain? Do you want the city to get the deal done regardless of how much they take it in the shorts? Do you want the Trailblazers to leave? Where are you at, and how do you see the situation? And the reason why I ask, there are much smarter individuals than I listening to the program, and so I want your insight. You live in the community. You've been a part of the community for a long time, and you have voting rights. So I want to know from you. My constituents, fire away at 503-248-0620. So here is the latest. Props to Sean Hyken of Rose Garden Report for asking the question. And basically, it was very simple. If the deal gets done, are the Blazers going to remain in Portland into the foreseeable future? Here's Adam Silver last night in Las Vegas.
Spend time with Tom and his partners here in Las Vegas, And what we are most focused on right now, the league office, is the deal that we discussed when we were in Portland in March. I was hoping more progress would have been made by now on that agreement, and it seems to have gone off track in various ways. And so I have a colleague, Joe Masco, who's day-to-day on it, but we're working with both sides to ensure that the Trailblazers can have a long-term future in Portland. But there are several open issues that still need to be resolved.
All right. I guess the ultimate question after hearing that for the first time, what was your reaction? Did it raise your concern level? Did it ease your concern? Where were you at after you heard Adam Silver say that? 503-248-0620. I'll tell you what I think it was here in just a moment. But Wright Gazaway from KATU did a good job of kind of summarizing where this entire situation is at right now between the Blazers and the city. And the whole idea is to get a funding package in place and agreed upon that will result in the Blazers signing a long-term lease, probably 20 years, and having the ability with the public package to renovate the Moda Center. Now, Gazaway puts this together. And he says, first off, the commissioner weighed in on negotiations in Portland. Quote, I was hoping more progress would have been made by now, and it seems to have gone off track. It's also not entirely clear what he was referring to when he references a deal in March. He also went on to say the reality of Portland's government structure is there could be no deal in place without majority vote of council, and that still hasn't happened. I'm genuinely confused how the NBA and teams say there was an agreement in place without approval of the legislative body of the city. And that kind of goes back to what I have heard, that there was a deal that's, and this has been reported, that there's a deal in place, and it's just a matter of getting the signatures on the dotted line. Gazaway also writes, in March, city leaders wanted to send a letter to the NBA. The council pres couldn't get majority to sign off, even with watered-down language. The city sent a letter signed by mayor and council president and vice president, and he posted a copy of the letter and council president email to colleagues. Dundon, of course, in April said, quote, I think we got a good framework and we're moving forward on it, but how the form and structure of that, there's a lot of work to figure out what that is. A lot of work to do. Now, the framework that Gazaway has posted, $365 million from the state, $120 million from the city, and $88 million from the county. Now, some of the city's voting body wants strings attached to the $120 million in line with Dundon's, quote, a lot of work to do. City has 2 public meetings on MOTA this month and an August vote on tentative terms. So the process so far. Late June, the council work session and discussion of community feedback from survey and in-person engagement events. Late July, first hearing and public testimony on about a term sheet, a non-binding preliminary document outlining the key economic and control terms of the proposed operator lease. In August, council votes on a resolution approving a term sheet. September to November, lease negotiations. Late November, early December, council votes on an ordinance or resolution approving a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, a bonding document detailing final negotiated terms of the operator lease. In the first quarter of 2027, council votes on an ordinance to approve the definitive documents, a formal operator lease agreement written in compliance with the terms of the MOU. Now, we got a statement, a brand new statement from Mayor Keith Wilson. Quote, from the start, the city is committed to striking the deal, the best deal for Portland. The Blazers are our tenant. We're their landlord. We value them, and we recognize that we need each other for the long term. We are continuing to engage in community-driven process as we approach a city council vote in August. We are operating on an aggressive timeline to reach a new lease, and we have been explicit with the Blazers that design, information, and clarity around public investment are necessary to move forward. The absence of essential details from the Blazers is slowing progress at a moment when urgency is required. We know that the NBA is committed to Portland, and we look forward to working with them to ensure negotiations on a renovated Moda Center and a new long-term lease happen in good faith. Now, Gazaway also says the absence of essential details from the Blazers is slowing at a moment when urgency is required, restating the comments from Mayor Keith Wilson. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620. So let me play this statement once again from Adam Silver last night in Vegas.
Spent time with Tom and his partners here in Las Vegas, and what we are most focused on right now, the league office, is the deal that we discussed when we were in Portland in March. I was hoping more progress would have been made by now on that agreement, and it seems to have gone off track in various ways. And so I have a colleague, Joe Masco, who's day-to-day on it, but we're working with both sides to ensure that the Trailblazers can have a long-term future in Portland. But there are several open issues that still need to be resolved.
Okay, so how I read that statement there from Adam Silver, his job ultimately is to support the owners. His job is to support the owners. His job is to try and create avenues to earn as much money for them as he possibly can. And he's going to defend them and utilize his power to make sure that he supports Dundon or any of his other owners in the best way he possibly can. So, of course, Adam Silver's on the side of Tom Dundon in this situation. That's his job. He works for the owners. So I understand what he's doing there. I think that statement from Adam Silver was him letting the city of Portland know, the state of Oregon know that, hey, if you do not come to terms on an agreement to get this lease extended and get the funding in place to make sure that the Moda Center is renovated, we are open to supporting Tom Dundon to move the team. I think he was just using it as a power play to make sure that everyone knew who's involved in the negotiations that, hey, we want to get it done and we want the team to remain in Portland long term, but if you balk, we'll move the team. That's what I think was happening there. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. Now, the reality of the situation, as it's been explained to me, is very simple. The city, the county, the state, they really have no leverage here. Tom Dundon is sitting at a poker table with the state, city, and county. He's got the hand, and he knows what cards they're playing with. So they're really at his mercy in this situation. And the truth of the matter is that no matter what city you go to, when you get into the game of professional sports and you want them to be a part of your community, there's a price that has to be paid. It's big money, and you've got to be willing to sacrifice if you want professional sports to be in your area. Now, I'm a sports fan. I love having the Trailblazers here in town. I want Major League Baseball. The more the sports, the better in my mind, because I truly see the value in having that as a part of our community. Tom Dundon does not have to respond. He does not have to respond to their letters, their requests, or any of that. He can use the situation to show his strength in the negotiations. Now, I would say, based on the research that I did when he took over the Hurricanes with the city of Raleigh and all the different things he wanted to do with the arena and the development around the arena, it got really nasty before the deal was struck. And as I've mentioned before, he is a ruthless negotiator. He's really good at it. And he's negotiating with people that probably aren't strong when it comes to negotiation. And he holds all the cards. So Tom Dundon is strictly going to go out and utilize his power to get the best possible deal for him and the team that he can. And unfortunately for the state, the city, and the county, they don't have power here. What are they going to do? What's their option? They're going to let him walk? You're going to tell Tom Dundon to stick it, and then he takes off and heads out to another town? You know, obviously I don't want that to happen, but I think this is playing out pretty much how I foresaw it in the beginning, that it's going to get contentious. The rhetoric is going to get a little bit nasty, but eventually they will come to their senses, both sides, and strike a deal that's going to keep the team here long term. So I'm not terribly alarmed. I still think the Blazers are going to remain. I think this is the natural part of the negotiations, and Tom Dundon is in full control. That's really what it comes down to. He's in control. He holds all the cards. So he doesn't have to acquiesce to any of their demands right now. And if you can use your leverage and the power that you have in a situation to get the best possible deal in a negotiation, then more power to you. And I think most of us have negotiated on some level. I've negotiated in times where I had no leverage. I've negotiated in times where I've had some leverage, and there's a big difference. But really, what other options does the council have? You're going to let the team go? And the reality is they own the building. Now, if Tom Dundon owned the building, I would look at the negotiations differently, but he doesn't. The city does. And whether Tom Dundon is here with the Trailblazers or they hightail it out of town, then they're still going to be stuck with the building. He's not going to hook it up on a trailer with one of those wide load trucks heading down the highway to some other city and take Moda Center with him. It's going to remain. And they're going to have to renovate it at some point. You might want to get that done when you have a viable tenant. So I'm not angry at Tom Dundon. I'm not angry at the city. I just see the negotiations very simply as Tom Dundon is holding all the cards. And he knows what cards they're playing with. They have no power, no leverage. And therefore, they're going to have to bend the knee to the demands that he has. And he's got his eyes set on certain things. The one thing I would demand if I'm the city is to make sure that you get at least 20 years on the lease and that there's no option to buy out, that it's locked. It's ironclad on the 20-year lease. Outside of that, they should be treating Tom Dundon the way that a young man pursues his future bride. Stop playing defense and play offense. You need to show how much you desire him and the team to remain in town, because there are other cities with better situations that will fall all over themselves to make Tom Dundon pleased. And that's the reality. And unfortunately, because of the way that the local leaders have destroyed the economy here in Portland and all of the big businesses are running out of town, there are other places that have more corporate support. So I wish that the business climate was different. I wish that we had a few less commies involved in the business decisions for the city of Portland, but that's the reality. So they're going to have to come to terms whether they like it or not. And Tom Dundon holds the power. That's just the reality. So you've got to get a deal done. You've got to come to terms. And Adam Silver just let you know that, hey, we want the team to be here, but if you don't get a deal done and get the funding necessary for the renovations, we're not going to prevent him from finding a different location. So that's where we're at. But again, I think this is part of the negotiations. It's going to get nasty before it gets better. But eventually, I think this is all going to drive both sides to the bargaining table, and they'll get a deal done. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. I'm very happy to be with you, by the way. What a spectacular day it is outside. Jump on board, 503-248-0620. We'll get deeper into this whole process when we come back on the Rip City Drive. Guiellemo Matta from KATU is going to join us. 503-248-0620. That is your phone number. Where are you at on this? Do you want the council to just get a deal done? Do you blame the council? Do you want to tell Tom Dundon to stick it? Where are you at on this? 503-248-0620. You've got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I like the Doobies. If you have any other songs that you would classify as summer songs, send them over to me. Let me know. Hit me up on social at Chad and Rip City, or just call the show 503-248-0620. I like to compose lists that I can listen to during the summertime. Isn't it amazing how certain songs can remind you of different seasons? I think it's great. Guiellemo Matta from KATU is going to join us in a couple of minutes. He's got like a billion different things going on, but he did agree to come on. And when I reached out to him, he's like, what do you want to talk about? I think I know. And I said, your instincts are correct. So he's going to join us here in a bit. But let's go out to the phones. And really, your reaction to Adam Silver's comments last night in Vegas. And more importantly, what do you want? How do you want the council to react? 503-248-0620. Let's go out to Paul in West Lynn. Paul, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. Fire away.
Chad in Portland, I'd like to show my blazer.
Show me your blazer.
Yes, I would love to show it to you, my friend. Have you seen the Yacht Rock documentary Bill Simmons made for HBO?
I have.
And?
I thought it was okay,
Did you
but
enjoy it?
I did. But the problem is that because I'm so knee deep into that genre, it was lacking in many areas. It was entertaining, but it could have been much better had they brought me in to consult.
I won't disagree. I'm sure you could have brought a genius to that. I got to continue on. Was it Gary who so eloquently took the time to write that handwritten letter that you read on the air yesterday?
Yes.
I think it was Gary. I disagree with him. I feel Michelle Obama said it best. She said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Tom Dundon is not a good person. I've never met him, but actions speak louder than words. He's not good with people. He showed it. He's shown it with being cheap, with not wanting to pay for $1,000 worth of hotels or airfare for two-way players, flying 70 people. The way he dealt with Coach Splitter, very disrespectful. How he's holding the city of Portland hostage is just not a good script for somebody who wants to come to a new city and say, I'm going to be your knight in shining armor, Blazers. I mean, the truth is, Portland needs the Blazers. The Blazers don't need Portland. And Mayor Wilson, he's obligated, I'm walking on the street, and it's kind of loud. He's obligated to the people of Portland, the taxpayer. He's just saying, please let us know. We want to give you money. What's it going towards? Transparency. That's the big word in government these days. It's only the right thing. And Tom Dundon is playing so difficult. He's become so unlikable. I feel the cringe if I was at the Moda Center to show his face on the Jumbotron, the booze he's going to get. It makes me feel awkward right now. I really think they're leaving, Chad. I think Clay Bennett showed us in Seattle that Memphis Grizzlies moved. The next Pacific Northwest team will be our very own Blazers. It sets the stage for NBA Europe.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Paul. Boy, wouldn't that suck balls if Seattle finally gets a team back in the Sonics through expansion, only to have the Blazers leave to another city, and then we don't have an I-5 rivalry? That'd be the ultimate kick in the package. Now, with Tom Dundon, and I respect your phone call, Paul, I don't know how anyone can say that they like or dislike Tom Dundon or that he's a bad person. How would we know? And this has gone back to the way I felt from the very beginning. We got to give him time before we can pass judgment on Tom Dundon. Now, the one thing I do respect, it's weird, but I respect there's something that's appealing to me, not just with Tom Dundon, but with men who make decisions and operate with very little worry about what other people think about them. I've often spent a lot of time in my life worrying about what other people think. So I'm attracted to that quality to where you can make tough decisions or go through a negotiation period and not waver even when people are telling you to, go stick it, or that you're bad or you're not friendly or whatever the case may be. He's very, he's got resolve, and he's going to get what he wants through the negotiation period. And for the city, they have no leverage. None. Like zero. No longer do you need to string this out. You just need to vote and get it done. The sooner this gets done and the renovations can start and we get that lease signed, the better it's going to be. 503-248-0620. Let's go out to Ken in Vancouver. Kenny, my friend, fire away. You're up, buddy.
All right, I come from a little different vantage point than the last gentleman, but I'm going to let her rip right here. I work 2 jobs. I'm just a regular dude. I'm telling you, Tom Dundon's not doing anything different than any other owner in another town. So this is the main thing. I appreciate the governor and the mayor being behind this whole thing to get it done, because at least they have the vision to try to make our city wonderful and a great place to be in. I lived in the 70s here, the 80s, the 90s. I know how it's worked here. There's never been a sports-backed political party or group that has ever tried to get more sports into town. It's always been the same old thing. There's no money for fire and police. Same stuff, different day. So I'm calling out the council members who are trying to poo-poo this thing, who have no vision. If we're going to thrive and be great, we have to have the vision to get this renovation done. Stop dragging your feet on it. It needs to be done to get all the extra stuff needed so that we get bigger shows here, so that the docks are up to date at the center. I just can't believe the lack of vision by some of those they want to keep in the same old rut. Oh, we ain't got no money. Well, I'm telling you, stop it. You have to spend to get. We need more business coming here. We need the city to be proud. The Blazers are a big part of the soul of the city. The only thing the rich and the poor have in common is our love for the Blazers. So let's get this thing done. Stop dragging your feet, and let's have vision for this place so we can be a spectacular city again and quit worrying about this and that. Just be great. Hey, thank you, Chad.
You got it, brother. I appreciate you. That's Kenny in Vancouver. He loves the Trailblazers. He loves Dame. He wants the team to remain long-term. That's what it comes down to. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Guiellemo Matta from KATU going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. You can reach out. I'd love to hear your voice. What's your takeaway on this situation? As I mentioned before, I just think Tom Dundon is operating like someone that has all the leverage. He does. So he doesn't have to be friendly through the process. He's going to try and drive this situation to fit what he is looking for. That's what ruthless negotiators do when they have all the power. They are going to work it to his benefit. His benefit, the team's benefit. He's going to put the Trailblazers in the best possible position that he can. And through the negotiation process, he's going to try and get every single dollar that he possibly can to help him moving forward. So I totally understand it. I don't hold anything against him for that. I just want the deal to get done so the team can remain in place for a long period of time. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. It's interesting. We're having issues getting a hold of Guillermo. So I'm texting with him, and he says he's ready. And then when we call him, and here he is. I just texted him, and now he's calling. Boom. Modern technology, baby. Answer that phone, Brendan. Yeah. Love it. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We head out to the phones right now. First time on the Rip City Drive. Guiellemo Matta from KATU is here. Guillermo, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
I'm happy to do so, my man. Thank you for reaching out. If it's a little bumpy, I'm sorry. I'm heading to work right now.
No, that's okay, man. We all got places to be and things to get done, so that's okay. But I guess first off, what was your reaction? How did you read the comments last night from Commissioner Silver when speaking about the negotiations between the Blazers and the city?
Well, at first, my initial reaction was, man, he's making a strong push for the city councilors to make a decision. But then once I analyzed and heard it 15 times again, then I started thinking to myself, I feel like this is a call out to Tom Dundon, the owner of the Trailblazers, just because of the way it was sounding. And then this morning when our own investigator reporter for KATU, Right Galloway, reached out to the office of the mayor, we got a statement saying, like, no, the ball is on the ownership of the Blazers now. We've done everything on our end. We just haven't heard back from them. And now that I'm thinking more about it, Adam Silver, I feel like I was talking with Tom.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You're talking about Wright Gazaway, who put together a nice report. Here's the statement from Mayor Keith Wilson, Guillermo. Quote, from the start, the city is committed to striking the best deal for Portland. The Blazers are our tenant. We're their landlord. We value them, and we recognize that we need each other for the long term. We are continuing to engage in a community-driven process as we approach a city council vote in August. We are operating on an aggressive timeline to reach a new lease, and we have been explicit with the Blazers that design information and clarity around public investment are necessary to move forward. The absence of essential details from the Blazers is slowing progress at the moment when urgency is required. We know that the NBA is committed to Portland, and we look forward to working with them to ensure negotiations on a renovated Moda Center and a new long-term lease happen in good faith. So what I'm wondering with that comment from Mayor Keith Wilson, because Tom Dundon knows that he probably holds all the cards in the negotiations, do you think that he is trying to continue to drive this process to get the best possible deal? That's what it feels like to me after I read the statement from Keith Wilson. How do you see it?
Chad, as a TV reporter, I provide the stencils and the paint, and I let people paint their own picture. But as a fan, I can't help but think maybe Tom just wants the best deal out there for the team that he just purchased and spent so much money on. But then on the other hand, is I hear the city councilors, and they're not saying like, hey, we're not against you. We just want the best deal possible, not for just the Blazers and the Moda Center, but the entire city. And it's confusing tug of war because it sounds like both parties want the best outcome possible, but they're not meeting in the middle. From that statement from Mayor Wilson, Chad, I feel like this is one of those terms where, all right, ball up top is your turn.
Yeah, no question. Guillermo, when you posted that video last night, were you anticipating it to blow up the way it did?
Yes and no. Yes, just because it came at a random time, and Wright has been investigating this all along. He had posted just an article yesterday morning, so there was already some traction. But no, because although Adam Silver is very articulate with his words and he picks his battles when it comes to creating his sentences, I didn't think he said much of interest, to be honest. He's been saying that all along. The only part that caught my attention is where he said there was an agreement made in March, or along the lines of something in March. But other than that, I didn't think it was a big deal. But, hey, I'm glad that people are tuning in. I'm glad people are catching on to what the best interest for both parties. I just got a feel for Trailblazers fans, man. Chad, I got to tell you, the biggest losers of this entire situation is the Portland Trailblazers fans, because we got so much good going into next season. We got John Moran, Damian Lillard is coming back, Danny Opt is popping into a superstar here in the 503, and all we hear about this summer is the Moda Center and the ownership. It's like we have so much good going on, it's getting spoiled.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this has been a unique community. You understand this. The fabric that exists between the team and community has been special for such a long time. And you're right. Right when the Blazers are starting to move on that upward trajectory where the team has got some great young talent and some stars. And Dame, the next game he plays, he's going to be suited up in a Trailblazer uniform, which is amazing. And now we got to deal with this stress and nonsense. And the thought of the Trailblazers not being here long term is just I think it's hard for people to fathom because of how important they've been in the community for so many years.
Exactly. And this is just an important message to the city. And listen, the only thing I'll say is in that statement from Mayor Wilson, he referenced the Trailblazers as the tenants. Chad, I don't know the last time I saw a tenant not pay rent. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I want this deal to get done. So with the work that you do, I mean, this negotiation is different than covering a sporting event. How do you enjoy covering a negotiation like this and what's going on between the Blazers and City compared to other things you might cover in sports?
I got to put I got a Trailblazers tattoo. I think you saw it as well.
Yeah.
I just put my fan hat on, and I listen to the fans. What do they want to hear what's the best outcome possible for Trailblazers fans who've been rooting for to bring another champion since '77. That's all I can say. Put on the fan perspective and what do they want to hear? Because no Trailblazers fans want to hear like, hey, there's a possibility the team is moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I got you. All right, Guiellemo Matta from KATU here on the RipCityDrive. Hey, Guillermo, it's nice to catch up with you, my friend. Keep up the good work. Enjoy your trip into work, and hopefully you and I will get a chance to catch up again real soon.
You as well, Chad. You are the man, and I appreciate the way you do your work. I got to give you your props. I mean, when I say I speak from a fan perspective, there's nobody that does it better than you. You know how to communicate the audience and connect the fan base to the organization. So thank you for the work you do, my man.
Oh, you got it, buddy. I appreciate you. There you go, Guiellemo Matta from KATU here on the RipCityDrive. All right, we're going to open the phone lines up. I want to hear from you, 503-248-0620. Where are you at with the negotiations? What do you think about Tom Dundon and the city? How do you think it's going to play out? What's your prediction? What do you want to see happen? Are you mad at Tom Dundon? Are you mad at the council? How does it feel to know that the future of the Trailblazers rests in the hands of the Portland City Council? 503-248-0620. My buddy Josh going to share his experience in Cambodia coming up at 4:20. He'll join me in studio. And we'll preview the Open Championship at 5:20 with PGA Dave. But I want your take on this situation and the latest comments from Adam Silver. How did you read it? What did you think when you heard it? We'll continue the discussion here on the RipCityDrive. All right, a couple of people chimed in. Sean in Damascus says Ice Cream Man from Van Halen's a great summer song. I would agree with that. And also my man Charlie mentioned Saturday in the Park by Chicago. That is definitely a fabulous summer song. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We're talking about the comments from Commissioner Silver last night in Las Vegas.
Time with Tom and his partners here in Las Vegas, and what we are most focused on right now, the league office, is the deal that we discussed when we were in Portland in March. I was hoping more progress would have been made by now on that agreement, and it seems to have gone off track in various ways. And so I have a colleague, Joe Masco, who's day-to-day on it, but we're working with both sides to ensure that the Trailblazers can have a long-term future in Portland. But there are several open issues that still need to be resolved.
All right, your reaction to those comments. Let's go out to Wilsonville. Lawrence, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. Fire away.
You bet, Chad. Enough about the city. We'll know that that'll get done. Hopefully they'll be staying here. But what about the fallout associated with trading Scoot and Shaden? Can you give me some information there? I just heard about it. I've been out of town.
I'm sorry, what was that? Can you repeat that question again?
Sure. Let me turn down my ear. The question is, what's the fallout relative to trading Scoot, which I was really surprised of, but also Shaden as well?
Well, they haven't traded Scoot or Shaden yet, so they still remain. They traded Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray in exchange for Ja Morant. So I would say that with Scoot and Shaden, I think the team still believes they have two very good young players. My big question would be with the guards that they have, the overflow of guards, where they're going to find the playing time to get them, the type of time they need on the floor to continue to develop. But ultimately, I think that the team is still searching for more data on both players to know exactly what they have. I was really impressed with Scoot's finish to the regular season last year, into the playoffs where he had some very fine moments. So I've not lost hope. And keep in mind, they were two very high draft picks under the Joe Cronin regime. And I've asked people, is the acquisition of Ja an indictment of those two? And no one seems to think that that's the case. I think they made the move because they saw great value in return for being able to unload the Jeremy Grant contract. Let's go out to John and Gresham. John, you're up on the Rip City Drive. Fire away, buddy.
Hey, Chad, what's cracking?
It's all good, man. What about you?
Yeah, Silver's comments were interesting. He talked about more than one issue, and I was kind of curious as to what he was alluding to. I have no idea. But, I don't have a problem with Dundon yet. I mean, I think the jury's still out with him. I mean, as an owner, he's entitled to, shave and, make as much profit as he can, making some of the decisions he made early on. And as far as, Thiago, I think we all would agree that he did a great job this year. But, I'm pretty excited about Micah. I mean, I really like, from what I've heard about his philosophy, and sure that he's going to, bring something interesting to our team, camaraderie and competitiveness and everything else. We'll see how that goes. But as far as the city goes, I don't have a problem with Dundon. He's not getting the revenue from all the other events that the Motorcenter brings in. So I don't know that it's his responsibility to have to pony up, for the renovation. But I'm curious. I wonder if anybody has thought about this, and that is maybe Dundon could persuade Silver, hey, if Portland does this renovation, let's promise them an all-star weekend.
Oh, gosh, I would love that. I've been praying for an all-star weekend here in Portland forever, but we keep getting the same verbal nonsense about not having enough hotel rooms. We've got the infrastructure here to host an all-star game, and I definitely hope it happens sometime. I think the Blazers get the majority or all of the revenue from events that are held at the Moda Center. I don't know the particulars on that exactly, but I think that's the case. But I'm also with Dundon, where if you purchase a team and you pay $4.25 billion, that's skin in the game. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. And like I said, my view on the renovations and who should pay for it, or how that pie should be divided up, would be different if Dundon owned the building, but he does not. All right, we'll keep things rolling. 503-248-0620. I want your calls and your reaction to the comments from Adam Silver. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, what's going on, my friends? Now 4 o'clock. Chad here. Your Portland Trailblazers back in action tomorrow night down in Summer League in Las Vegas. They're going to meet Denver. That tip-off will be at 8, and you can watch it on Prime Video. World Cup action. Argentina defeats England 2-1. That sets up the final. It will be Argentina and Spain. They'll meet Saturday at noon, and you can hear it live right here on your home of the World Cup in Portland, Rip City Radio 620. From the NFL, Alvin Kamara will play for the Saints this season on a rework deal. And George Pickens is going to have a big payday this year. $27.3 million. He's going to play on the tag after he and the Cowboys couldn't come to an agreement on a long-term extension. Coming up at 4:20, my good buddy Josh Trainor going to be in studio to share his experience in Cambodia. We will preview the Open Championship at 5:20 with our PGA insider, David Coleman. PGA Dave coming up at 5:20. The Rip City Drive continues. All right, big props to Charlie for correcting me. I think I said the World Cup final Saturday. It's not. It's going to be on Sunday, and it will be at noon here on Rip City Radio 620. The Saturday showdown between France and England will be at 2 o'clock. But, yeah, the Sunday final at noon on Fox. So thank you, my good friend Charlie. I appreciate you for having my back. I get mixed up occasionally. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I want to go out to the phones. Really wanting your reaction to what we heard from Commissioner Silver last night down in Las Vegas. Big props to Sean Hyken for asking the question. Very simply, if the deal gets done, are the Blazers going to remain in Portland long term? And here's what the commissioner had to say.
Spend time with Tom and his partners here in Las Vegas, and what we are most focused on right now, the league office, is the deal that we discussed when we were in Portland in March. I was hoping more progress would have been made by now on that agreement, and it seems to have gone off track in various ways. And so I have a colleague, Joe Masco, who's day-to-day on it, but we're working with both sides to ensure that the Trailblazers can have a long-term future in Portland. But there are several open issues that still need to be resolved.
All right, so what was your reaction to that? Does that raise your concern level? I'll tell you what I think. I think the commissioner was, now again, keep in mind, who does the commissioner work for? Well, he works for the owners, so his job is to make them as much money as possible and to support them in their endeavors and to do what he believes is best for the league. So I think the commissioner was coming out and saying, look, we want this deal to get done. We want the Trailblazers to remain in Portland. But if it doesn't happen, we are open to supporting him in his efforts to move the team. That's how I read it. Now, again, I could be wrong, but that's the way it came across to me. And again, I've said this before. Let me say it again. I think the council, the city right now, they should be pursuing Tom Dundon and the Trailblazers in the way that a young man would pursue his future bride. Meaning, don't play defense, play offense. Show him that you want him, that you desire him, that you're willing to do whatever you can to roll out the red carpet. Again, think of yourself as a city. Let's say the Blazers became available. Let's say that Tom Dundon was going to move the team. What do you think those other cities that want an NBA team would do? How do you think they would act? That's how the Trailblazers, or that's how the city of Portland should be acting right now, pursuing him and trying to show him his value, his worth, and what he wants. Now, I really think that this is the case, and I think most of you understand this, but Tom Dundon is a ruthless negotiator. It's one of his strong points, And he's sitting at a poker table where he holds all the cards. He's got the winning hand, and he knows what their cards are. So they don't have any leverage. And when you have no leverage in negotiations, you pretty much are going to take it in the shorts whether you like it or not. And what's the alternative here? To stick to your guns and say, oh, we're not going to sign this deal and let the Trailblazers walk? I don't think that's a good answer. I think that would be a complete disaster for all of us. I mean, the fallout would be even worse than what I think we can possibly imagine. So they've got to get a deal done. And again, I don't hold any bitterness towards Tom Dundon. His job is to do what is best for him and the team. And if he's got power and leverage in negotiations, he's going to use that to the best of his ability to get what he wants. I don't hold any bitterness towards the city, the state, or the county. But they need to get this deal done. You know, political suicide if they don't, obviously. I still think that this is going to end in them coming to the table and getting a deal done. Now, through my research and through some of the people I talked to with the negotiations that went down in Raleigh, you talk to people that were involved in that process, it too got contentious. And there were times where people thought it wasn't going to get done because Tom Dundon is really difficult to deal with in these negotiations. But it got done. They finally were able to come to terms and got a deal done. And that's the way I think it's going to end here as well. Now, I will say this, and I've been, supportive of Dundon from the standpoint that I'm not going to pass judgment on a guy that's been on the job for a few months. We had Paul call in earlier and say that, Tom Dundon's a bad guy. Well, how would you know? I mean, I'm not going to pass judgment on Tom Dundon until we have more time to understand what type of owner he is, what type of decisions he's going to make. We do know he's got a pretty good track record with his time with the Hurricanes. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And then Guiellemo Matta from KATU made a good point, too, that we have all these good things going on with the team. We got some young talent. We got an exciting player in Ja coming in. And what are we talking about? Negotiations. And I'll just say this, just for the record, too. It doesn't exactly make me feel comfortable that the future of the Trailblazers rests on the city council. Because in my mind, when I think of the council, I don't think of big thinking people that love sports. I could be wrong, but that's not the way I view the council. And again, I think a lot of this is political theater because they've got to, you know how this works. Like most of it is theater, right? Because they got to placate their constituents. Even though they probably already got a deal that they know they're going to agree to, they've got to make it look like they care about what the people think. What's hard to believe, because again, I've lived in a sports world. I'm a sports fan. So since I was a young boy, my whole life has revolved around a sports calendar. But there are people who just don't care about sports. Now, I can't relate to that because I've never been like that. I don't have a problem if someone is into sports or not. But there are people who don't value sports the way that I do or you do. And so they couldn't care less one way or the other. Like that's hard for my brain to comprehend. But there is a value. I'd say even if you're not a sports fan, I'm sure that a lot of people are smart enough to understand the value of having a team like the Blazers in town and what that does for the city economically. The other unfortunate part, too, is that because of leadership that has been in place for a long period of time here in the city and the state, it's not exactly a business-friendly environment. And that's why all the big corporations are leaving, which means the Trailblazers don't have the corporate support that you would like to be able to make things happen. So there you have it. Let's go out to the phones. I want to hear your voice. You can jump on board 503-248-0620. Let's go to Mike in Vancouver. Mike, you're up on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind? Fire away.
Yeah, just something on the Blazers. I was curious, do you know of any other NBA team that does not pay any rent for the arena they use? And then also, the ones that do pay rent, do you have any idea what they pay each season for rent?
I don't know the specific answer to that question, but I will get the details and I'll report on that, Mike.
Yeah, because I was just wondering if maybe hang up on what Adam Silver was saying about an agreement in March might have something to do with the team starting to pay rent, and Dundon might not want to pay any rent. Would that be maybe something?
All right, there are, according to what I'm seeing right here, Mike, there are 5 to 6 NBA teams who do not pay rent to their city for their arena.
Oh, okay, so we're not alone.
That is correct. So we have what it says here. The
Okay.
exact number depends on how the team owns or operates the building. Arena owners own their building. The Golden State Warriors, the Knicks, the Bulls completely own their arenas, meaning they have no landlord. The city owners, of course, other franchises like the Trailblazers operate out of a city-owned arena but pay no rent under the lease agreements. These teams also usually avoid property taxes to get all the money from ticket sales and events. So there you have it. So the Blazers are not the only team to operate with that type of an agreement.
Well, thanks for that answer. I was really curious on that.
So,
And
Mike,
I do think a deal will get done.
yeah, so do I. But what's your read on the situation? You've been around for a while. What do you think? Do you think a lot of this is posturing? I mean, clearly it looks like Dundon holds all the cards, but how do you read the situation?
I think it's kind of posturing. And like you were saying about political theater, I kind of have been thinking that myself. You know, they got to placate to their constituents, and Dundon's holding his ground. It's what makes me think this will get done. You know, I just think it's kind of theater, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunately the way it plays out a lot of times in the political world. Let's go out to Pat, who is in Portland. Pat, appreciate the phone call. I always love hearing your voice, buddy. What's on your mind today?
Well, you know, the main talk here about the Blazers and this circle of individuals who think they got the answers. But my thought is, you know, the owner of the Blazers seems to be a guy that is, in a lot of ways, is difficult to work with. He's, like you said in your comments, he will do the best he can do for himself, and that has been shown. And he's done some real major blunders when it comes to the media and some of the things he's done, not just with the Blazers, but some of his business practices and even with the Stanley Cup. So I think in the long run, we're going to have to give him what he needs. But I think in the long run, I really, truly believe that he's not going to hold this team long. I would be surprised if he owns it more than 3 or 4 years and he'll dump it, because I got a feeling he's just doing it for a profit thing. I don't think he really wants to own an NBA team and all of the things that go along with it long term. I think he'll own it, dump it, make a profit, and move on. That's my gut feeling.
Well, I appreciate that, Pat. Yeah, I would say most owners are trying to make a profit. I don't have an issue with that. Tom Dundon is no different than you or I. Usually when people are negotiating some type of deal, they're trying to get the deal that is best for themselves. I certainly do. Like when you go to buy a car, are you trying to be friendly to the dealer, or are you trying to get the best possible deal for yourself? Are you being selfish because you don't want to pay full price for the car based on what they have on the sticker? I don't think so. It's negotiation. I've had those things get contentious too. Last time I bought my car, I tried to get down to a number, and when they allowed me to walk off the lot, I knew that I had reached the number that they were as low as they were willing to go, because they never let you walk off the lot. But the guy didn't chase me down. Yeah, it's oh my gosh. The thought of the Blazers leaving town sucks. Like, that just can't happen. It can't happen. But the council, like, I still believe that the deal has been pretty much agreed to. And I think the council is playing their games because they have to play their games. And Tom Dundon, because he holds all the cards, he's altering the deal. He's going to get the best deal possible. But again, I don't have a problem with that. He owns the team. His job is to do what's best for him and the team. That's just the way it is. So, and he has made some missteps. I don't think it's been major blunders. The engraving, putting the family members on the Stanley Cup is a little bit odd based on the people I know that are close to the NHL game. Like, that's a little bit weird, but again, I can kind of understand it, because if you're a billionaire and you own a team, it's kind of a power play too. Like, that would not suck. Hey, if your dad rolled up on you and was like, hey, would you like your name on the Stanley Cup? Yeah, I think I'm in. It'd be cool to see your name on the cup. I'm not saying I would do that, but I can understand the power play involved in that. All right, 503-248-0620. We'll get away from this story for a moment. We'll talk to PGA Dave coming up at 5:20. Got to preview the Open Championship. But coming up next, my good friend Josh Trainor in studio. He just got back from Cambodia, so we're going to talk about his experience and the trip that he went on and what he was trying to accomplish. And if you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620, you got the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. PGA Dave, David Coleman coming up at 5:20. And I do want to hear from you. In fact, we'll do that before I welcome in my next guest. So let's go out to Rick in Oregon City. Rick, I appreciate the call. What's your takeaway on what you heard from Commissioner Silver?
So my takeaway on Commissioner Silver is probably different than the takeaway on what you said. You used the word communist, and I found that to be a little bit over the top of how you feel about the commissioners. They're rather dysfunctional. Nobody's saying that they're not. This is a complicated matter for them to be able to figure out.
Hey, Rick, I was talking about some of the communist ideas within local government. I did not refer to the commissioner of the NBA as a communist.
It didn't come across that way. It just didn't come across that way. First of all, I don't know who's communist in any local government in this country, because they don't run as a communist or a Democrat in the cities. They're not partial. But just saying it seemed that you're putting something that maybe they're thinking, but this is complicated because Dunnan is not a guy you can really trust. He's giving lots of mixed messages. He tells people that he doesn't want to pay the taxes here.
Rick,
the Allen family didn't on that. But you should never say something like that.
Rick, hold on for a second.
Go ahead.
What I was talking about when I referred to some of the commies, what I said was the commies within local government. I was talking about the business climate here in the city of Portland and the state of Oregon, where we've seen a lot of corporations leave town. That's what I was referring to. I was not talking about it
because of a communist philosophy. It's not a communist philosophy. You're assuming it's a communist philosophy, but it's not at all. And so it makes no sense that sometimes once in a while your political views kind of come out. I've listened long enough to know that. But this one, I've never called you before. But it's the first time I thought, wow, that is just a little bit too much. This guy doesn't want to stay here no matter how much you want to make it sound like that. He doesn't want to stay here. I don't care what he did in North Carolina, but the political point of view is wrong. Whether you think he's staying or not is up to you. But
okay, so how would you describe, hey, Rick, how would you describe our local leaders and their efforts to encourage the growth of business in the area?
They don't. That's simple to say. They don't support business. The city is falling apart. It's going to get worse after the Blazers leave.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. We're on the same page.
But they don't care. They don't care. I don't think the people that live in Portland, and I live in Oregon City, but live in Portland, I'm not sure how much of sports fans they actually are. I don't know who actually goes to those games that live in the city compared to those who come from the suburbs to the games. Okay? I've always felt there's probably more support in the suburbs than the actual city.
Then, Rick, we're on the same page. We see things the same way. That's my concern, is the lack of support of business in the area and what that's going to do to our future economy here locally.
We do agree, except the word that you used.
So what was so offensive about the word communist? I mean, in terms of what you said,
that just seemed like such an old thing that people used to say in the 60s and the Soviet Union used to be around. It was just a connotation that I don't even know if people even know what that means when you said that.
Well, I mean,
okay.
I think I do. I think people know what communism is. I think people know what democratic socialism is. I mean, in terms of my political views, I can tell you I'm anti-communism. That's my political view.
There's nothing wrong with that. But in a sports program, it seemed to be a little off. You do it on a political program, I don't think anybody I wouldn't even bother with it. But in a sports program, it seemed to be off. Just my opinion. But I want them to stay. I'm a Laker fan because I grew up there, but my son is a Blazer fan. He is desperate. He's in his 40s. He's desperate to see what's going to happen because he's put his whole kind of life supporting that team.
Okay, so
not
Rick,
that the Allens are
Rick, how do you think the negotiations are going to play out? How do you think it's going to end?
Wow, good question. So this is what I think. I think that the money may show up, maybe no. That he's not really showing that he's willing to add to the area and put it in. First of all, I don't think he has much money. I think that was kind of a mistake for the NBA, not checking out really what this guy is. Plus, the other guy is his partner. His wife got fired by the state, and they used to say, well, he would not have asked me to be a partner because he knows I live here, because they just moved here. And so now that woman no longer works here. So what does that mean?
Okay, so
because they approached it.
What do you think the end result's going to be? Do you think they'll come to an agreement that will get the long-term lease done?
I think he's going to leave. I think he's going to leave.
So how do you think the council is going to vote? You think they're going to turn him down?
What do you think?
I think they're going to get a deal done. What other option do they have?
I don't know that they look at it that way.
Well, I know, but it would be political suicide to let them walk. It would be political suicide to let them walk.
It would be financial suicide to let them walk.
I agree.
Financial. Political, who cares who those guys are? But financial, it would destroy that city. Just destroy the state to a big degree. And for me, I just think I won't even give it a 50-50. I'll say it's 60-40. It won't happen. Because I don't know how much he really wants to stay here. Because he won't tell you. If he were to come out and
he's
say,
negotiating right now. But why would he?
20 years.
Why would he?
Just say, I'll give you 20 years, and then I'll make a deal. But he won't say it.
But why would he say that in the middle of a negotiation?
Because you're talking about him being at the top of the heap in negotiating. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have the money. And if he doesn't care about the money, he'll go to Tennessee or Nashville or something like that because they'll just give him whatever he wants. Plus, I will say a political thing here. He's from Texas, and I don't need to say a whole lot more than that. If people know what Texas is about, they know what I'm meaning. And I'm not saying the word communist, and I'm not saying the word racist, but he's from Texas. And he's not going to like the makeup that's in this city. It's too diverse for him, although we're pretty white. But I got to talk to
one of the whitest cities in America.
By far. Chad, I got to talk to you after 15 years. This is a big deal. When my son comes home, I'm going to talk to you.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do next week? No. I'm going to say communism again just so you'll call back in. You need to call more often. If it took commie to get you to call in, I'm going to say it again every day. You got to call in.
Even a better ending. I'm going to leave with that one. I'm going to go water my plants.
Okay, so what we learned here is that you and I are basically on the same page, except for you didn't like the use of the word commie. But outside of that, we see things the same way, man. We want better leadership.
You think they're going to stay. I don't think they're going to stay.
Well, we'll see how that shakes out. But, dude, I appreciate the phone call. Rick in Oregon City, 503-248-0620. All right, let's welcome in my next guest. He's one of my best friends, and he just got back from a trip to Cambodia. It's Josh Trainor who's in the studio, and I mentioned this earlier. So am I right in saying that October will be the 7-year anniversary of your heart attack at Wildwood? Is that correct?
6.
6 years.
Yes.
I was off by a year.
Yes.
I can't believe it's been that long.
I know. Incredible. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
All right. So, it's pretty cool. You are going through a job transition, so you've had extra time to be able to do some different things. And you just got back from a trip to Cambodia, a mission trip, which is really cool. So how did it come about to where you'd have an opportunity to go on a mission trip? I've been on one. I went to Madagascar. It was through my parents' church. So how did your opportunity to go on this trip come to be?
Sure. And thanks for having me today.
No, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you and to be in with you today. And it's such a privilege. So, yeah, there's several short-term mission trips this summer, kind of fall 2026 through my church, and the team leader on a Sunday morning invites me to go, and I'm like, well, I need to check in at work because we have rotating coverage, and if I can take even that 2 weeks off to be able to go, and the very next day, I get my meeting notice that I've been laid off.
Yes.
And so I go back the next Sunday. I'm like, I've got plenty of time to go on your trip now.
And how long did you work at your previous company before you were laid off?
Just almost 25 years. Like May would have been 25.
That's a long time.
Yeah, so a long time. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And you got the notice, which cleared your schedule to where it gave you the opportunity.
Correct. Yes.
That's exciting.
So, yeah. No, incredible opportunity to go. I'd wanted to go on a long-term or a short-term mission trip for a long time. The last big one that I went on was when I was in college. I smuggled some Bibles into China.
Yeah, speaking of commies. Okay, so let's tell this story because I don't think we've talked about it on the radio, but you told me this once in passing. I said, wait, you did what? So how many Bibles did you have stowed away in your luggage that you were trying to get into China?
I had some like a backpack, and I had, big pockets, and the total number might have been in the 20 to 25 range.
Were these Bibles that were printed in Chinese?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And so when you arrived, you have to go through customs, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Were you sweating bullets in that process?
Yes, I was. Absolutely.
And they didn't find them?
They did not find them, and they did not set us aside to check. I mean, they just, let us go right through.
Did you happen to ask what might have happened had they found those Bibles? Would you have been imprisoned? What would they have done? Confiscated them?
Confiscated, yes, and they would not have let us in to the country.
You would have been barred from entering the country.
Barred from entering, yes. And so
jump on a plane and get the heck out of Dodge.
Right, yeah.
That's great.
So, yeah.
So that was your first experience, and that's when you were much younger.
Much younger.
How old were you at the time?
So I was 20.
Oh, good.
So,
just young and dumb enough to be like, I'm in, dude.
Yeah, no,
Let's smuggle
absolutely.
Bibles into China.
For sure. And so I just always wanted to go and do something again.
Yeah.
And but with life and family and kids and work and having the opportunity to go, just never super materialized. But now here was this opportunity, and I had an open window of work and of no work, and was invited to go, and so I just really, really excited to go. Yeah.
How many people did you travel with?
There was a team of 6, so it was a small team. The couple that I traveled with, they were actually missionaries there for 16 years. 16 years. So they were very aware of the area. Correct.
The language, how to communicate.
Yes, and getting around Phnom Penh and the city, even around the country, right? We traveled outside the city a little bit. We did a little in-country flight to Siem Reap, the Angkor Wat, to see some temples in the northern part of the country. And so, traveling with them. They've been home for 5 years, but have only gone back a couple of times. But even to be with them and see them welcomed home, in a sense, by the people they worked with and invested into several years ago, was incredible. Just to have a front row seat to the care and the honor and the appreciation that they felt for this couple. And so being with them was incredible. Yeah.
All right. So I remember when my eyes first saw a country that was like third world, right? I'd never seen it before. It was a lot more chaotic than what we have here in the States. So I would imagine, what was that experience like for you?
It was eye-opening and definitely generates a different perspective on life.
Yeah.
Phnom Penh is developing, right? There's Starbucks there, and there's coffee shops, and there's towers, and there's cranes and building, but I mean, right down the road, it's abject poverty, right? And so seeing that, just a different way of life. There's a different pace of life. There's a different way of looking at life. That's not that it's better than ours, less than ours, or we're better than that, or not. Like, not that at all. It's just a different way of how they go about life, right?
Yeah.
And so,
that's what I noticed too. Like in the capital city there in Madagascar, what jumped out at me was the infrastructure or lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
The roadways were total chaos with very little signage, right? It was like every man for himself.
Yes.
So that was trippy, but you're right. No running water. So you would see people walking around town carrying, massive jugs of water on their shoulders, taking it back home. But I went there to help build infrastructure, laying tile, and we put internet into a street kids center to help with some of the kids in the area. But these are kids who lived in shacks at best, like literal shacks, right? That were very small.
Yeah.
You'd have a big family in one place. And so I was like, oh, that's legitimate poverty.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, we visited a couple families. We delivered food and rice. And, I'm walking on this wooden plank with no handrail that's like maybe 1.5 feet wide over a swamp to a shack. And it's maybe 12 by 12. It's on stilts over this swamp. And this family is just inviting us in to welcome us and have conversation. And they're asking if we want any fruit. And they're like we're just all in there, the 6 of us and the 4 of them, all 10 of us just jammed in this little space. And there was no embarrassment about what they didn't have. There was no shame of that they lived in this place. They were just welcoming and kind and generous. And here, do you want some fruit? And their contentment and joy, it's like they didn't know what they didn't have, right?
Yeah.
That we take for granted every day, right? They're worried about the water rising in the swamp during the rainy season, and they have hooks on the walls so they can hang their stuff up in case the water rises like overnight or whatever. And so you can just see all this stuff hung up on the walls to keep it away from the water. The house is sinking a little bit, and so even stepping off this wooden plank bridge like into this home, I mean, it's a little treacherous step to step across, but that's their life, right? And it looks like survival to me, but to them, right, they're content and there's joy in their family, and their teenager is learning English and trying to make a better way, right? And so to be there and be in the midst, just an amazing, amazing opportunity.
Yeah, that was the whole mission in helping build up the Street Kids Center, is that they were providing education to kids in the area in hopes that through the education they would go on to college and then they could help break the cycle of poverty in their family. That was the whole idea behind it. So for the mission of your trip, were you guys focused on spreading the gospel? Was it to take supplies to different people in need? Was it a combination of everything? Was it building buildings? Like, what were you guys doing specifically?
It was a combination of many things. We didn't do any building, but sharing the gospel. I had the opportunity to do that with...
Now, how would you do that with people that don't speak English?
I had a translator. So I would speak English, and then it would be translated. And so I had the opportunity to do that. We helped with a conference, and even something that seems so minute, right? But we helped build like these snack boxes for the participants in this conference. There's 300 participants for the conference, people from all over the country who came to this conference, and we're just building little snack boxes for the intermission, right? I got the opportunity to teach an English class to some 8th graders. There's a school there where they're K through 12, and there's 700 students, and they're primarily learning English, right? And that's one of the big things. And so I got to teach on adjectives and why we use adjectives in our sentences and enhance our sentences with detail, and so just lots of opportunity there for that type of work. Yeah.
All right, great. Josh Trainor in studio talking about his trip to Cambodia. We'll continue the conversation when we come back. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. What a spectacular day it is here in Portland with the blue skies and the sun. You got to love it. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, this is awesome. Got my buddy Josh Trainor in studio talking about his trip to Cambodia. You know, it's interesting. You and I were just talking about this. When I was in Madagascar, I was so, I thought that material things would be their greatest need, but that wasn't the case. I noticed that the people I talked to and spent a lot of time with for a couple of weeks, like they care about their families. Community was very important to them. There's a certain togetherness, and so I appreciate that. I did open up my suitcase before I left and said, "Whatever you want, it's yours," and they took everything, which was cool, you know. But yeah, I wasn't. I think living in this country sometimes we have a different view on things because, you know, we are spoiled living in America because we have access to great infrastructure. We can go to any grocery store and have access to just anything we could possibly need. We have running water. We have all these things, but in those countries they don't. But they've never had it. But you understand that they care about people and the community. I enjoy that aspect of it. Give me a different view on things.
Yeah, for sure. Even the first night we were there, we went to a family's home and they just welcomed us in. And these are people that the team leaders they knew from their time ministering there and. But they just had us in, and there's 4 or 5 families, and, we were going to eat outside, but it had rained. And so we're just all sitting on the kitchen floor, 20, 25 of us, just sitting in a circle, having conversation. A lot of them spoke English. They had learned English, and they're sharing their stories, and they're asking me about where I live and about my family. And, they're... we're communicating, but here we are, there's rice and there's fresh fruit and there's meat being cooked. And, we're just having that connection and community. And it's not about what they did or didn't have, right? Not at all.
What was their view on you being an American? Like, what was it? What type of questions did they ask you? Were they curious?
Yeah, they're curious. Even the kids at the school were like, "Where do you live exactly?" And I'm like, "Well, it's kind of near California." And they're like, some thought LA was its own state.
Yeah.
And I'm like, kind of, but not. It's in the state of California. And so I'm drawing them a map, right? And like, here's where I live on the West Coast, and here's where New York and Washington D.C. and Florida are on the East Coast, and so really about my home, where I lived. Family type stuff and kind of the things I like to do. And so they're very interested.
Are the kids going to school there?
Yeah. So, the school we were in, it's a Christian school, faith-based, non-denominational, but there's 700 students.
What? 700?
The school has grown just dramatically over the last kind of 9 to 10 years. And, so, I'm K through 12. Each class is a different size, but, I had taught 8th graders some English, and some of them had been learning English since kindergarten, and then others had only been at the school for a year. And so their kind of understanding and knowledge even of English, was widely varied, even in 8th grade.
Were you able to have a conversation with some locals who spoke English?
Yes. Yeah. So, which was incredible, right? They had taken the time to learn and they spoke it well. And so having even those conversations, just incredible. And hearing the questions and be able to have that back and forth and that connection, right? Just really beautiful.
Going into it, I don't know what you anticipated or were hoping to experience, but was it similar to what you thought going in, coming out of the trip, or how would you describe that?
I wasn't sure what to expect, honestly. I think I realized the city is more developed than I had imagined.
Yeah.
So, and Phnom Penh Airport is, by land size, is the 9th largest airport in the world.
Wow.
So, and it's a brand new, beautiful airport.
So a nice airport.
Fantastic. And so the development that's occurring, the investment that's coming into the city. But just you go 5 or 10 minutes outside of downtown, right? And it's drastically different, right? And so there's sewer canals, and there's
that's
things
what I noticed
that we
too.
could not, we wouldn't imagine right here.
In Madagascar, in the city, like the sewage would just drain in little ditches on the side of the road.
Yep. And so, but
I'm
you
assuming
saw
no running water, I would assume?
there's running water. Yeah, there's running water through the city. Yeah, but you look at a power pole and it's got 1,000 wires on the power pole, right? That you can't even count. I don't know who decided, right? Well, I'm going to try to hook up my power to that power pole. And so I have pictures of the power poles that have, maybe 1,000 wires on them. I mean, it's just top to bottom, like full of wire.
And these are just makeshift wires that people connected.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
that's wild.
Yeah. So don't try that on your local street here.
Yeah. What's the weather like? Is it, I would imagine, is it hot and humid? How would you describe the weather?
Very hot and humid. It never got below really 80 degrees at night and was mid 90s during the day. Humid, very humid. So 80 to 90% humidity. It's their rainy season. So we had evenings of rain that would roll in and roll across. But yeah, you walk out of the hotel, out of your air conditioning, and it's immediately, it's hot and you're sweating. And so you're just, it is what it is. And you just kind of get used to it. And, you're in it with the team and you're there to serve. And that's the privilege of being able to go, right? Yeah. So.
All right, Josh Trainor in studio. You want to hang out and talk for a few more minutes?
Sure.
All right, we'll come back and do it. Josh Trainor in studio. We're going to preview the Open Championship with PGA Dave coming up at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday afternoon. In World Cup action, Argentina defeats England 2-1, and that sets up the final with Argentina and Spain that will meet Sunday at noon right here on your home of the World Cup in Portland, Rip City Radio 620. Your Portland Trailblazers are going to be back in action in Summer League tomorrow night. They'll meet Denver down in Vegas, tip at 8. You can watch it on Prime Video. Alvin Kamara reworked his deal. He'll be back with the Saints this season, and George Pickens is going to play on a $27.3 million tag with the Cowboys after he and the team could not come to terms on an extension. Checking the Major League scoreboard right now. Only one game in action, and that's coming up tomorrow, Mets and Phillies, before all the teams are back in action coming up on Friday with the Mariners hosting the Giants, 7:10 first pitch on MLB TV from T-Mobile. All right. You'll be on your knees. I love this song. One of the greatest intros in a song I've ever heard. Josh Trainor, my buddy's hanging out with me in studio. PGA Dave and David Coleman coming up at 5:20 to preview the Open Championship. So, Josh, you're in Cambodia, and I got a text from you. You're like, John Morant, what?
Right. Yeah.
That's where you were at when it went down.
Yeah.
Were you as shocked as I was?
I was, absolutely. Yeah. So
I did not see that coming. No one prepared me for that. And I was like, I see the tweet come out from Shams. I had to double check and make sure I wasn't being tricked. And I was like, oh my gosh, John Morant.
Yeah.
Like, what was your reaction to that when you first saw the deal go down?
Well, for the value, again, right, like you've talked about, getting off Jeremy's contract and whatever his production is or isn't, right? And but then thinking, how is that going to fit with the slew of guards that we already have? And we've done the undersized guard thing for a long time that never worked. So why are we reinventing the wheel again with that? So yeah, that was my first initial reaction.
Can you imagine Ja and Dame starting together?
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I'm just curious how much Dame is going to be able to contribute at coming off the injury.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a question mark, honestly.
Yeah.
Is he preparing? Does he work his tail off? Yeah, he does all that. But what is he going to be able to give night in and night out? Or is he more of a three-point sniper that teams have to pay attention to, but he's, not necessarily the difference maker that, that a Denny is, right? Pushing the tempo and downhill and putting pressure on defenses and things like that, right? And so I'm just curious to see even what we're going to get, even from Dame, right?
I would agree. I think Denny is their best player.
Right.
Their best option. There's no question about it. But I wondered the same thing about Dame. My guess would be that at his age, coming off the injury, that maybe his minutes per game will come down. So maybe he'll be a 30-minute per night guy. That would be my guess, 30 to 32 minutes instead of, 36 to 38. But I guess what I'm most curious about with Dame, and I know from people I've talked to with the team that he's been working out vigorously and apparently has himself in great condition. And taking the year off, I would imagine that you being able to rest your body in a way that he has never been able to rest it before because he's been playing basketball for all these years. So the wear and tear, he'll have fresh legs, which I think is nice. But what I'm most curious about is that he's played his career with the basketball in hand, right?
Right.
Well, can he change? Will there be an adjustment where he can play off ball and become that sniper at times? Is he going to want the ball in his hands? And if he does have the basketball in his hands, how will that work if he's starting with John Morant, who also is a guy that plays with the basketball in his hands, and Denny Avdia, who is at his best when he's got the basketball in his hands. So I'm with you where I'm excited. I love the value that they got in return with the Grant and Chris Murray deal, getting John Morant. But the fit doesn't work in my mind. So I don't know how it's going to shake out. Maybe Mike Inori was talking about this a couple of days ago down in Vegas, where I think Ja told him, like, hey, whatever you need, off the bench, starting, whatever. So we'll see how it works out. But maybe it's a situation where you start Drew, maybe Ja comes off the bench. Of course, Dame's going to start. But maybe Drew Holiday, like, I can see that because Drew's got the ability to play with ball or without ball. And defensively, he's great because he's engaged at a high level on that end, but he can defend multiple spots. So maybe it's a situation where it's Dame and Drew. And then my other concern would be for your young guards, you know, like guys like Shaden and Scoot, like where do you find the minutes to allow them to continue to develop? Now, of course, you'll have periods where guys get nicked up and they'll open up more minutes for certain guys on the roster, but I worry about that too because those guys need to play to continue to develop as well.
Right, yeah, especially Scoot and having a full season, right? Yeah. But you know, you've got these veteran leaders, right? You've got Dame and Drew and even Ja to an extent, right? And so, you know, can Scoot continue to develop and grow even and flourish, right? Even in this environment? Yeah. Or is it going to be too much to where he doesn't get the minutes he needs, right? And he just brings a different dynamic to the floor than any of those other three, in a sense, right? And so
I'd love to know the conversation that Coach Nori had with Scoot after that deal went down.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're Scoot, you got to be thinking, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I would be thinking the same thing if I was him. But I really thought Scoot down the stretch last year, coming off the injury, I thought he was great. Yeah. He had some really big moments, including in the play-in game down in Phoenix and in the first couple of games of the San Antonio series.
Right. Yep. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Mike has got a riddle on his hands, right?
What's your impression of Mike Inori?
So far, so good. I mean, you know, and yeah, you can talk about the deal he took and whatever, but he's betting on himself, right? And which I love. And he's the one who signed the contract. So, you know, it's up to him to prove it. Yeah. Right. It's up to him to prove it. And I think he wants to, and he's going to show us why. Right. And no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the shift. So, yeah.
Well, the big story, of course, is the comments from the NBA Commissioner Adam Silver about the Trailblazers' negotiations with the city of Portland. He talked about that last night down in Vegas. Here's what he had to say.
Spent time with Tom and his partners here in Las Vegas, and what we are most focused on right now, the league office, is the deal that we discussed when we were in Portland in March. I was hoping more progress would have been made by now on that agreement, and it seems to have gone off track in various ways. And so I have a colleague, Joe Masco, who's day-to-day on it, but we're working with both sides to ensure that the Trailblazers can have a long-term future in Portland. But there are several open issues that still need to be resolved.
What's your read on those comments by Commissioner Silver?
Is he making a statement to the Portland City Council, in a sense?
That's what it felt like to me.
Right. And so, yeah, for Portland to lose the Trailblazers it doesn't even, like, my mind can't even wrap around that. Such a deep part of the fabric of this city, and so to lose them would be an insane loss, honestly. Like, and what they bring, and the community that it brings, and the jobs that it brings, and yeah. So I maybe the city council is posturing, maybe they're doing what they need to do. But I would say, yeah, no, you give Tom what he wants, right? And you keep the team here, and don't even let them get a sniff of getting away, right? This just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, I felt like it was a statement to the council by the commissioner. I agree with you. I think Silver was doing his job defending one of his owners and just cranking up the pressure just a little bit to say, hey, look, we want this deal to get done and get the details worked out. But if it doesn't, then we're going to support Tom Dundon in his efforts to accomplish whatever he needs to accomplish. So I think he was cranking up the pressure a little bit, which is understandable. Now, you're also a big soccer guy. The World Cup has been here in the States. What have you thought about the overall job that the USA has done of hosting the World Cup?
I think it's been incredible to see so many people travel here and to have them take in the city experience, right, of wherever the game's being hosted, and to
get their take on the U.S. of A.
Right, yeah.
Now compared to what they thought coming over.
Compared to what they thought coming here. And so for these people to experience that, and then to have the World Cup hosted in 3 nations, right, and just incredible. And so I think the U.S. has done a great job. I think, Mexico did a great job, and Vancouver as well, and Toronto. And so, being able to host it is amazing. And you see how the country just came together and got behind it, and how this is every 4 years, right? And so we're 4 years away from the next one. And but just how incredible it has been to have had the privilege to host it, right? And just an amazing opportunity for the nation to show who we are as a community, and to let people see who we are as a country. And I think you've seen that in a lot of fans who have traveled from other countries. Maybe they had an impression of the U.S. that they were told or they were given, but being here, they've experienced something different, and that's incredible.
Yeah, especially with the people they've encountered. A lot of people have talked about how inviting the people have been, which is really cool to hear. Now, before you go, what's an update on your heart health? So your 6-year anniversary of the heart attack is coming up in October. How are you doing health-wise?
Doing great. No, just plugging right along. Still take my medication every day. A plug for taking your heart medication every day.
Is that something you have to take forever?
Yeah, which is fine, right? And so, but I take it every day. Still walk every day, and take care of myself. I have no long-term damage to my heart. My cardiologist is. You can go do whatever you want from a cardio perspective, which is just a blessing and a miracle in itself. And so, almost 6 years on.
Do you still think about it every day, about being alive and still being here, and why you weren't taken on that day back in 6 years ago?
Not as much. I think for me, more it is, God, thank you for a new day. Thank you for another day. You have been gracious to give me a new day, and that my heart is just grateful because yesterday is done, and I don't know if I'll get tomorrow, but I've got a chance to make the most of today, and that's where my heart's most grateful. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're back safe. Thanks for coming in studio to share your story, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chad.
All right, we'll come back. It's time to preview the Open Championship. Big thanks to Josh Trainor. PGA Dave, David Coleman is going to join us. I just got a message from Charlie. He says, we're going to get effing killed by 90% of the teams if we start Jaw and Dame in the same backcourt. One of those guys has got to come off the bench. Well, that goes back to the fit, right, Charlie? Like, we love the talent of Jaw at 26 years of age. We love Dame, and we know he's going to start. I just don't know fit-wise how that's going to work defensively. And I'm glad I'm not the coach to have to make those calls, too, by the way. All right, let's preview the Open Championship. Should be good. PGA Dave's coming up next. All right, before we go to our next guest, so if you were listening when Rick called in, he was really frustrated with me. And the weird part was we agreed on basically everything, but he took exception to the fact that I referred to commies within the city council. He just thought I went too far. Well, I just had an email forwarded to me from my boss. Not only did Rick call in to tell me that I was out of line, he emailed my boss too. Check out this email. It's a classic. Hello, Mr. Moore. And that's my boss, Rich Moore. I'm writing because of what I just heard Chad say on the radio. He just called members of the city council communist because they are not moving fast enough in the negotiations with the new Blazers. Now, of course, I did not say that, but that's what he thought he heard me say. This sort of opinion should probably be kept to oneself. Once in a while, Chad's political leanings come out, but this one is a bit too far. He needs to apologize and be temporarily taken off the air. Sincerely, Rick. What I said is that I am frustrated with the commies who have been leading the city and the area, which has prevented the growth of business in the area. And we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies that have hightailed it out of town. And I'm into jobs. I'm into financial stability for our local area. I want people to thrive. And obviously, I'm concerned about the council, being in negotiations with the Trailblazers because I want sports as well. But Rick, I thought we had a good thing going. Now, did you email my boss before you called? Or did you email him after we talked? Rick, I thought we were buddies, man. I thought we came to an agreement on air that we really see things the same way. Rick, my man, what's up with that, buddy? We're boys. Rick, come on. Here's my phone number, 360-281-5473. So instead of emailing Rich, just text me directly and we can have a conversation, my friend. My man. He did too. Someone just pointed out that Rick, even though he didn't directly say it, he suggested that people from Texas were, well, I'm not going to say it, but you know what I mean. Well, I'm from Oklahoma, Rick. What do you think about people from Oklahoma? Rick, come on, buddy. Come on, just text me directly, my friend. I love that, though. It does make me happy. Chad needs to apologize and be temporarily taken off the air. I should probably be removed permanently off the air forever. I mean, you've heard me for years. I don't even know why they allow me to continue to do this. All right, we got the Open Championship coming up July 16th through the 19th. It's going to be at Royal Birkdale. And joining us right now is our PGA insider, the one, the only David Coleman, who is back. PGA Dave, my man, what's going on? You ready for some golf or what?
You're not kidding, Chad. This is a great tournament, last major of the year. It's kind of the world's major on a golf course that a lot of different type of players have won on. I really like, the test, the golf this is, some new holes they constructed there at Royal Birkdale, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. So for those who maybe don't understand, give us kind of a breakdown on the difference between like the PGA, the Masters, or the U.S. Open compared to link-style golf. It's a totally different style in terms of what you have to do in terms of execution to win. So how would you describe the differences?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you look at golf here in the U.S., if you're watching the PGA Tour week in, week out, whether it's a regular event or one of the majors like you brought up there, you're playing the game a lot more in the air. Now, when you get overseas and you're playing along the ocean or near the coastline or where there's a lot of wind, you're playing the ball much more on the ground. That's where it becomes more of a links course. So the key with this golf course is, it's so firm and fast this week. I don't know if you've watched any of the coverage on Golf Channel, but that course just looks so burnt out. Looks very similar to when Tiger won at Hoylake in 2006. And Tiger didn't even really hit a driver at all off the tee that week. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what these guys do strategy-wise. I'm hearing stories about guys hitting 4 irons, 5 irons, 6 irons, almost 300 yards, which is crazy. So you got to know where the bunkers are. Obviously, the fescue is a big part of the elements there, and the wind for sure is definitely a big part of it too. So you have to know how to strategize things around the golf course. And that's what can really make it different, because it's not like an American course where you just get up and hit a driver and just bomb and gouge it. You got to really, have a strategy and a game plan. And the tough thing about this golf course is, there's areas where these bunkers come into play at, say, 300 yards or 320 yards, and you might have to hit a 5 or 6 iron to lay up in front of them, which is crazy because when you think of those numbers, you're thinking of either trying to drive it over it, maybe even hit a 3-wood in front of it. So it's so different because of how the ball runs over there, and we just don't see that type of shot making too week in and week out over here in America.
No question about it. So how much more difficult is it for, let's say, the U.S. players who grew up playing a different style of golf to adjust and learn how to play that style to be able to win an Open Championship? And how much more important is that communication and decision-making between them and their caddy throughout the course of the week?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's why these guys go over early. A lot of the big-name players played the Scottish Open last week on a links golf course. That's why guys, in the past have gone over there 2 weeks early. I know Rory McIlroy's gone over there. He hasn't played at all, really, until last week. So he, obviously got a lot of practice in there at Royal Birkdale, really trying to learn, what lines he's got to, try and hit, and obviously, when you're playing over there too, you don't have any trees on these courses. So aiming, you're trying to aim over dunes and mounds, and you're almost aiming in the sky sometimes. So a good caddy is really, really beneficial on a golf course like this. And then I think the thing you have to accept is that the ball is going to roll out sometimes, and there could be times where you get good bounces and you get lousy bounces, Chad. So that's the thing, that these players have to realize coming over there. It's so different than playing in the U.S. where the ball is going to hit and stop a lot quicker, where over there the ball is going to continue to run. And that's why we've seen over the years unheralded guys win the British Open, because you can get some crazy bounces where a guy who's obviously a great player might end up in a pot bunker and he's got to pitch it out sideways, and that's almost the equivalent of hitting it in the water.
Yeah, no question. Of the potential pitfalls, whether it's the fescue, the wind, or the pot bunkers, what do you think is the most difficult thing to contend with?
I think the bunkers on all these courses, especially this course, Chad, I think that's the one thing that Nick Faldo brought up earlier in the week, talking about the strategy when he went off on Bryson, and we can talk about that later on. But I think the bunkers, guys like Faldo, Nicklaus back in the day, obviously Tiger did a great job of it. They stayed out of those bunkers. You look at how many guys ended up in those bunkers over the years, and that cost them the tournament. There were so many guys that, whether it was a big-name guy, an unheralded guy, some guy, maybe that was a solid player that, maybe had never won a major before, like a Thomas Bjorn in 2003 when he ended up in that bunker on the 71st hole, and then he ends up not really being able to get out of it, and he made a big number, and obviously Ben Curtis won that year. And crazy stuff like that can happen. So those bunkers are not like your typical bunkers you see week in, week out on the tours around the world, where, heck, there's times on par fives, guys and some of the girls who play in the LPGA, their bunker games are so good, they're almost aiming for the bunkers, where if you get in a bunker on any of these links courses, you're in a tough spot, because now you might have to play out sideways, you might have an unusual stance, you might have to aim way left or right, and you almost look at it sometimes, if you're up against the wall, those as like a one-shot penalty.
All right, let's talk about Bryson DeChambeau for just a moment. Brandel Chambly on Bryson said, quote, "It's almost like he went from chasing Scotty Scheffler and Roy McIlroy to chasing Grant Horvat. It's like he wants to outdo every YouTuber in the game of golf instead of outplay everyone in the game of golf." And he's also taking criticism from Nick Faldo as well for some of his strategy and the way he's approached the tournaments. And he struggled in the majors this year, failing to make the cut. What's your takeaway?
Oh, yeah. I just, that's the first time I heard Chambly's take. But I've obviously heard the Faldo stuff that came out earlier in the week, Chad. And I agree with both of those guys. Obviously, Faldo is a legend, a guy that won the Masters several times, and won the British Open several times, and a guy that played much more of a precision game, and he really understands how to play a links golf course. And he was right on about Bryson and his strategy, how Bryson, really thinks you can just bomb and gouge it around these links courses, and you can't, and I think Faldo was spot on. And the comments that Chambly made there really are interesting, because there's been a lot of rumors with, obviously Liv could be going down the drain, and and Bryson might not have a place to play next year, and Bryson might just try and do all this YouTube stuff and play in the majors while he's got this exemption from the U.S. Open he won at Pinehurst. So Bryson, to me, look, I think some of that stuff is fun to do, but at the end of the day, I mean, you're still a professional golfer, a guy that's won multiple majors. It's one thing to do some of that stuff here and there, but I think Chambly's right, to a large extent that, look, if you're going to do that stuff, you got the off season, you got plenty of time to do that. But if that's taking away time from your preparation for the majors and I guess what you would still call a somewhat competitive tour and live, that's hurting his game ultimately. And I think there's no doubt Bryson has got to really get it figured out here. If live, is done, where is Bryson going to go? That's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers with live and Bryson's future.
So, Dave, give me the guys that you think their game sets up well for this weekend.
Yeah, I'll give you a few guys that I think are going to do well. I think Matt Fitzpatrick right now is just playing phenomenal golf. I mean, he's got multiple wins this year on the PGA Tour. He's a guy that has really turned around his game from the time he turned pro, where he was kind of a guy that was a shorter hitter on tour. People thought, maybe he'll be an okay player at the next level, to a guy that's become a real force week in and week out on the PGA Tour. He's obviously won a major at the U.S. Open. He's a guy that I think can do really well here. I think Tommy Fleetwood, growing up in the area, is going to know how to play this golf course. Fleetwood has kind of a little bit lower ball flight, a right to left ball flight. I think that's going to work well in the wind this week. And I think Fleetwood's a guy that he's not a bomber by today's standards. So I think he's a guy that's very accepting of, hey, I maybe have to hit a 4 or 5 iron off the tee to get myself in play. And I think he'll be able to do that for sure. And I think the other guy that a lot of people would love to see do well this week is Justin Rose. This is a guy who, Chad, in 1998, before he turned pro, had a great run here as an amateur. And, if Justin Rose were to come back this week and win at Birkdale, I think it cements him as a Hall of Famer for a number of reasons. I think, number one, he was one of the few guys that previous generation with Sergio and Westwood and Poulter and Keimer who didn't take the Saudi money to go play the LIV Tour. And then I think the other side of that, too, is Justin Rose, when he turned pro, missed so many cuts in a row, a lot of people doubted him. And if he were to kind of come back, cap it off, he had a couple close calls the last couple of years at the Masters. Obviously, the playoff loss to Rory was the big one from a couple of years ago. But this guy, is so well respected by fans, people in the industry, other players on the tour. This would be a great win if Justin Rose could get it done, because I think a lot of people look at Justin Rose as a guy that, is the consummate professional and a guy that, probably should have more than one major on his resume.
All right. Of these marquee groupings for tomorrow, you tell me which one you would watch. We got Justin Rose, Victor Hovland, and Russell Henley, Scotty Scheffler, Tyrrell Hatton, and Bryson DeChambeau, Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, and Jordan Spieth, Wyndham Clark, Cameron Young, and Ludwig Oberg, and Roy McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, and Matt Fitzpatrick.
I'd say obviously Scotty's always interesting to watch. I think the group with Rory is really interesting too. Rory, has said a lot of interesting comments this week, kind of talking about, his future. Obviously he's looking more that he's just going to be a player out there, and he's not really behind the scenes with all this stuff like he was a few years ago when really the tour kind of had him out front and center to take on LIV. And I think Rory, to me, is in a position where he's won the career Grand Slam. He won at Augusta again this year, playing probably his B or B- game. And Rory, I think, definitely wants to get another British Open on his resume before it's said and done. So I think Rory is fun to watch. And I think, you look at Xander. Xander's a guy, too, Chad, that, he had those 2 majors he won a couple of years ago, obviously at the PGA in Louisville. And then, he came over and won at Troon on a really hard golf course. And I think people thought, boy, this is Xander's time to really kind of capture, that number one spot in the world of golf. Another guy that didn't take the money from LIV, and he could really be that number one player, that number 2 player, even at worst, to really challenge Scheffler. And he had some injuries, and it's kind of been hit or miss since he's come back from that rib injury, where I think, that's a tough injury to come back from as a guy, especially like Xander, who generates so much clubhead speed. So I think that definitely is fascinating to watch. And, the group with Bryson and Scotty, and Tyrrell Hatton. I mean, you're talking about two guys, obviously, at LIV that don't know where their future is, and Scotty is a guy that, this year it's been interesting. I mean, he's won once. He's played really well, but I think people expect Scotty to be that next Tiger Woods or that next Jack Nicklaus, and golf isn't as easy as it looks, even for a guy like Scotty Scheffler, who is the definition of consistency.
All right, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to make time for it. How good is the Justin Thomas documentary?
Oh, you're talking about Justin Rose? Justin Rose. Yeah, that was on Golf Channel last night. They talked a lot about his career, interviewed his wife, interviewed some people who were close to him. Really interesting because, I think the thing a lot of people don't realize is that, it's so different than other sports, Chad. Like the NFL, the NBA, obviously professional soccer is huge. All these other sports, when you get drafted, you have time to really develop. Yes, we want guys in their rookie year to really develop and be there right away. But when you're in professional golf, if you don't do it right away, I mean, you're struggling. You're going back down a tour to the Korn Ferry or the Challenge Tour or maybe even a smaller tour. So Justin Rose's career didn't start out so hot, like I mentioned earlier. And this is a guy who, has really grinded, fought back. And it's interesting because they talked about some of his friends were there. They were talking about some of the majors where he had missed opportunities. And they were sitting with him after these tournaments, and he would just get upset in the moment like, geez, I missed out on this opportunity here. I missed out on this opportunity there. So it just goes to show how competitive these guys are. And what's amazing, too, about Justin Rose, Chad, is he's in his mid-40s. Typically now when you get in your 40s on the PGA Tour, most guys are kind of waiting to that 50-ish age to get on the Champions Tour, like we've seen a guy like Zach Johnson or Stuart Sink do this year, where their career, I want to say is over, but their opportunities to do well on the regular tour is limited, where Justin Rose, we're seeing it with Adam Scott a little bit. These guys can still play at a super high level. They got a ton of club head speed to compete with these young guys, and I think that's impressive and very inspirational for a lot of people, whether you're a pro or you're somebody who just plays the game for fun. As you get older, as long as you can stay in somewhat a decent shape, you can still play the game very well.
All right, PGA Dave, David Coleman here on the Rip City Drive. Buddy, I appreciate you as always. I'm looking forward to the tournament, and I look forward to recapping it with you next week.
You got it, man. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's on in a few hours at about 1:30 in the morning. It'll be interesting to see how this golf course plays. It's going to be a lot of fun. I always love this tournament because this time of year, there's not a ton going on in sports, and you can really lock into this tournament. And it's just so different because it's it's so, like we said earlier, you're not playing the game in the air, you're playing along the ground, and it's where golf started. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, buddy. We'll catch up soon. PGA Dave, David Coleman. Thanks, brother.
You got it, man. Have a good night.
There you go. PGA Dave, David Coleman here on the Rip City Drive. Always enjoy catching up with him, and I do enjoy the Open Championship. The skill level required to deal with the conditions. I've never been in a pot bunker. I don't want to be in a pot bunker. That seems like that might be a challenge to get out. But the wind, too, the wind conditions, the forecast for the weekend looks to be pretty good. Partly sunny tomorrow, partly sunny on Friday. A brief shower possible with some morning clouds on Saturday, and everything is shaping up pretty good for Sunday as well. All right, we'll come back. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. Big thanks to PGA Dave, Guiellemo Matta for joining the show. Also, Josh Trainor. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, let me give you a little sampling of some of the reaction that I'm getting from Blazer fans and people here in the city in regard to the comments from Adam Silver that the negotiations are not moving as quickly as he would have hoped at this point in the process as the Blazers and the city continue to negotiate on the funding deal to get renovations to Moda Center. Here's one from Chris. He says, I'd be willing to bet those idiots at Portland City Hall will F this up. It's in their DNA. Jason says Dundon has already put that to rest. He's not asking for a new building. Chad, you know West Coast cities don't do that in terms of rolling out the red carpet and playing offense. Getting a lot of reaction to Rick, who called in from Oregon City. Hey, Chad, you're a patient person. Hashtag Rick. Thomas says this is the old D. Stern playbook he used in Seattle. New owner, liberal city politics, and a free get-out-of-Portland jail card. Blazer fans are idiots if they believe the NBA isn't looking for better money opportunities, bigger TV market, a city who will roll out the red carpet on taxes. Max said that the Blazers should just leave town. I said, why? He said, why not? Portland has become an embarrassingly awful place. Cornholio says, just the fact that I'm reading a message from Cornholio is unbelievable. They don't want the deal approved, and if approved, they'll say it's not good enough. My prediction, since it appears the Blazers don't want the deal approved, if it gets approved, they say it's not good enough. They need a completely new building. I put out the message that Portland should be playing offense right now in their negotiations with the Blazers, pursuing them like a young man pursues his future bride. I get a response here from One Hand Low Golf on Twitter. He says, exactly, fix your damn building and clean up the arena. Try to have some pride in Rip City. And then my buddy Scotty says, if the Blazers leave town, I'll never watch an NBA game ever again, and I'll stop cheering for the Hurricanes. And Styles says, 100% agree with you, Chad. The city is bringing a knife to a gunfight. I'm guessing they want tons of stipulations about green energy, bike lanes, solar cup holders, and all kinds of BS. Just capitulate already. The city has nowhere to go. Write the check. And there you go. So, yeah, things are going pretty well here in Portland right now. Yeah, there's the exact message from Scotty. If the Blazers leave Portland, I will never watch the NBA again, and I'll disown the Panthers as my NHL team. The Panthers or the Hurricanes? Scotty, which one? All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. So the World Cup final has been set. It's coming up on Sunday. Just a reminder that we're going to carry it live here on Rip City Radio 620. Argentina defeated England 2-1 today, so they're going to advance and meet Spain in the World Cup final. And the Mariners are going to be back in action Friday as they kick off a weekend set against the Giants up at T-Mobile Park as they kick off the second half, the stretch run of their season. Right now, the Mariners 1.5 back in the West behind the Rangers. And the question is, are they going to turn it on? Are we going to see them start to play better baseball? Because I want that experience of what we got last year with their playoff run. That was pretty sweet. And the Dodgers right now, the best record in baseball at 61-36. Telephone number 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Blazers will play a Summer League game tomorrow night down in Vegas, 8 o'clock tip. It's going to be on Prime Video, and they're going to take on the Denver Nuggets. So if you want to see more of young Hansen, he's coming off that double-double game, 18 points, 10 rebounds in the victory over Minnesota. They won by 17, their first win down at Summer League. Nice to see Hansen get off a little bit. I think that's the reason to watch right now, just to pay attention to Hansen. You know, how well is he moving, the processing, the decision-making with the basketball. He's definitely a creative passer, but my concern is, you know, the lack of foot speed defensively. I'm wanting to see continued improvement in that department. So I'll check it and see how things shake out tomorrow night, but that game is going to be on Prime Video. Outside of that, just looking for more golfing opportunities. This weather's been spectacular. Like, I love this time of year. Longer days, warmer temperatures, and the opportunity to get outside and do a variety of different activities. And I've noticed that on Friday, going down to Spirit Mountain for different drawings, like the amount of people going out to the coast. I know a lot of people that are camping right now. Like, this really is a good time of the year. And it's the best time in the Northwest because we have so many beautiful things outdoors. If you want to go to the beach, you want to golf, you want to go to the gorge, you want to go to the mountains, like whatever you want, like we've got it right here. And I love it, man. It's awesome. So I'm just enjoying it. The best place to go to get your tee times, go to golfforcehills.com. Golf Forest Hills, the course right now is in great condition. I was out there Saturday and Sunday, but the greens, the fairways, like, and especially with all the sunshine, like it is really nice. All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to our guest today, Guiellemo Matta from KATU joined the show, my buddy Josh Trainor, and PGA Dave, David Coleman. I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate the calls, the interaction, all of it. It's great. And we'll continue to pay attention to the negotiations as this saga plays out between the Blazers and the city. All right, you guys have a good night. We'll check you tomorrow. Rip City Drive will be at 3 right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Big thanks to Brendan Slaughter. You guys have a good night.